President Biden is expected to announce a decision regarding student loan forgiveness in the coming weeks. Here's One America's Natasha Sweet.
Well, since the pandemic began, student loan repayment has been put on pause. It's providing relief to more than 40 million Americans in debt. The Biden administration is expected to decide on the wide-scale debt cancellation before the moratorium expires on August 31st. But does this mean borrowers should wait to take action? For more, we turn to John Iammarino, a financial planner in Southern California. Thank you so much for joining us, John.
My pleasure, Natasha.
Now, you've created an action plan, if you will, for student borrowers. And before we get to that, any predictions on what the Biden administration will do regarding the freeze?
Well, predicting what Washington is going to do is always a gamble. But if I had to put my money down, I think that some type of decision, whether it's extended beyond the August 31st deadline or not, some decision in the form of loan forgiveness will happen before the midterms. I personally believe that Biden will enact loan forgiveness. I've heard around $10,000, perhaps all the way up. I know some congressmen have wanted $50,000, but I think he'll settle more around the $10,000 range. However, for a lot of people, I think they're probably praying for a little bit more of a delay, because that means they don't have to make a payment perhaps for another month or two. And then obviously in hopes that more of their loan will be forgiven. We have to remember that loan forgiveness, it's not a forgiveness. There is no free lunch. This bill will be passed on to the taxpayers.
And like you said, a lot of people are talking about that loan forgiveness. Do you see, if that does not happen, do you see many just simply going into default?
You know, they say about 40% of people with college debt went to college but didn't graduate. So what they graduated with was debt and not a diploma. And unfortunately, for a lot of people who even did get a college degree, the loans they took aren't really matching up with their salaries that they're making in their careers. So in this interest rate environment, remember, people haven't been making payments for 2 years. And if we look at the cost of goods and services now versus 2 years ago, it's much higher. So, people, when the repayment process, if it does occur and when it does happen, they're going to have an extra bill on top of already higher goods and services that they're paying.
So walk us through your plan. Your advice for student borrowers is not to wait?
Well, I think you should have a plan. And as I always tell my clients, you need to plan for a worst case scenario. So don't plan as if the government is going to take care of you and bail you out. Look into whether or not you can refinance at a lower rate, especially if interest rates are going to be increasing. If you have a variable interest rate, be very cautious of that, because higher interest rates will go ahead and hurt you in the long run. And, really what people should do is start to plan as if the repayment plan is going to start next month. And then lastly, you should be setting up an auto payment plan. With that auto payment plan, you could get a lower interest rate, sometimes up to 0.25%. But credit reports like consistent payments. And with that auto payment, it's made without the hustle and busyness of life. You might forget that payment. You don't want to do that, because that will have adverse reactions on your credit score. So set up that auto payment. But also, especially if you're really affected by this recent inflation and your cash inflow is tight, set up a personal calendar reminder a couple days before saying, hey, I have this auto payment in 2 days for my college loan.
Great idea, so they can stay on top of it and it won't be a surprise when it's deducted from their account. John Iammarino, president and founder of Securus Financial, thank you so much for your insight.
For all our viewers asking where One America News is heading in the future, we would like to introduce you to OAN Live,